Good evening, or afternoon, wherever you are, watching Force 13 live, and Hurricane Matthew, a Category 4 with winds of 145 miles an hour. Thanks for sticking with us during these hours, and we hope that we are giving you as good coverage as we can at this point. It's just myself and I think Craig at the moment. I don't know if he's actually at the mic or not. Craig? Oh, he is.
Yes, I am back at the mic.
How about it?
And for good this time.
Now, if you've never seen us before in action, usually there's a lot more people on the stream than what we've had recently. That everyone's just not here. I've had word from a lot of people that they'll be around later. So, it is still in the afternoon in the US, and we've got a lot of US-based people. And we'll be able to hear from them later on. I know for a fact that 2 or 3 at least will be joining us, and probably more. If you want to contact us, of course you can do it on the stream right now. You can contact us on Facebook and Twitter. Search Force 13, all in text. Or you can add Fool 13 on Skype. That's my account, FOOL13. I know that some people have already done that, and messages whilst I'm on the air might be a wee bit slow, because I'm obviously on the air. But here we are. Myself, Nathan Foy, and Craig.
The dynamic duo.
Pardon?
The dynamic duo.
Yeah. If you want to let people know your Skype account, you're welcome to, if you wanted the fame.
Well, if you want, you can contact. You could contact Kellyboy15, which is got dashes in between Kelly and Boy, and also Boy15. That's all. That's all I've really got for my account. And but mainly, if you wanted to get into Force 13, I'd end up contacting Nathan just to let Nathan know that he'd be happy to join the Force 13 team. And meanwhile, we are currently looking at Hurricane Matthew, but that's not the only storm that's active at the minute. There's also, what should have been left of Super Typhoon Chaba. Obviously not a Super Typhoon anymore. It lost that yesterday. Going down from 165 miles per hour, which is impressive for peak, especially that high up, especially in latitude, which she's been caught in a jet stream, and not looking too great for Chaba. But then again, it's too late for Chaba now. It's falling apart. LLCC looks like it's become exposed, and also there is tropical storm Nicole in the Atlantic, which is not expected to do much. Expect for it to go down to the pub and get absolutely drunk.
You like
I'm
saying
seriously.
that?
That is literally. I'm just about to show you the answer. The very answer. Here's the answer when the screen share loads.
Oh, we're doing that again.
Yes.
Here's the screen
and
share.
I'm not doing models either.
Look at that.
That is where I am talking about. She's going to go down to the pub and get absolutely drunk. Seriously, have you seen anything more drunk than that?
It's all thanks to Matthew as well, under the influence of Matthew.
Yeah, that's probably where she ends up going downwards, toward the Bahamas eventually, as a depression. See, I'm confused. I don't even know whether that's tropical. It goes down to depression or goes up back.
I was just wondering that. It goes... It stays as a storm, then down to a depression.
Hang on, I'm just going to check tropical storms, because that tells me
it is.
That is confirmed. Hope it is.
So that's Nicole, the other storm in the Atlantic. It's not going to do anything.
Have a look here.
And people
No, it's not.
Hmm?
It's not expected to weaken down to a tropical depression. In fact, it's according to the NHC, it's peaked already.
Already?
Apparently, its peak was supposed to be 45 knots, and that's it done. Don't that sound okay?
That's crazy.
Very.
Stephen wants to know how much outflow from Matthew is helping Nicole.
Well,
I don't know
going by
whether
it, absolutely
Matthew is
none.
helping Nicole.
To be honest, looking at it, there's the outflow pulse from what I can see. That's the outflow for some of the only just some of the outflow from Matthew, and you can see Nicole there. She's getting absolutely destroyed by sheer.
It looks like it's blowing it away. Matthew's sent
Literally.
off a force field up towards Nicole to blow away all its convective activity.
I mean, if it hadn't Matthew had stayed down in the Caribbean for a bit longer than Nicole did
That's
for
right.
Matt, I think Nicole may have been a pretty strong tropical storm, maybe a category one.
What we've got is what we quite often see in October in the Atlantic when you've got a hurricane or
You normally get a tropical
two
storm.
systems. It's a very complex situation. We had it with Sandy. We've got it in a different way with Matthew.
Hmm.
And it's been complex all the way.
Obviously the
It's been complex all the way. You know,
Hmm.
days ago
Oh, yeah.
we were talking about the possibility of Matthew doing an Emily.
Oh my.
And then we were talking about Devon. I remember him days ago saying, I don't want to mention it, Hazel. This could end up being worse than that, at least for Haiti. I don't know about the US, but...
Yeah, Hazel was
That's in
only,
the
what, a
future.
category 4? At peak?
Yes, it was. You know, the US impact is still yet to come, if there is any, and we don't know what will happen.
Who was expecting it to try and do an Emily?
It depends which Emily. We're comparing it to all the Emilys, basically.
Oh my.
But particularly the 1987 Emily, which hit the Dominican Republic as a Category 2 after going off its Cat 3 peak, and then going by Bermuda.
Oh my.
But obviously, Matthew isn't doing that.
He's basically saying, to hell with it, I'm doing my own way.
I guess.
And also going by it, the forecast is obviously saying a major hurricane landfall only just on, I think, North Carolina. Maybe just south, on the border at least, at 120 miles an hour. Of course, this could change if after Matthew makes the landfall in Cuba. And once it does that, well, it's an open field of play now. And then it's just we've already had the nightmare of guessing games from Matthew. So we've already had the mad guessing game from him. And then this is, to be honest, from here, this is where the guessing game really gets worse. And it becomes even more of a nightmare. Because we're trying to forecast where he goes next. And I tell you this, it's not going to be pretty nor easy as well. Very near enough impossible. In fact, so far from what we've found out, as we already know, Nathan, from tracking Matthew since birth until, well, soon death when he makes landfall, his final landfall, which isn't going to be Cuba, is that it's a very hard storm to track, and we found that out more ways than one. That he kept stalling, doing loop-de-loops as if he was drunk. He had too much to drink. Then obviously he couldn't go anywhere. And due to the conditions that Matthew had around him, and to become a quote-unquote Cat 5, he did not too bad, considering the conditions that were around him, and they were hostile.
I do think it was a Category 5. Some people in the team disagree. But, yeah.
Well, I'd say it. I wouldn't really want to comment or speculate on that situation. And if it's a Cat 5, it's a Cat 5. We have to deal with it. We can try and try and really complain about it all we like, but if it was a Cat. The officials say it was a Cat 5. It's a Cat 5. We can't argue with it. They say it's a Cat 5. It's a Cat 5. They must have saw something that we didn't, or we're not able to see.
Their reasoning was the planes. And some people argue that the planes never measured Category 5 winds, but they thought that it did. Anyway,
there we go then. But if anyone starts questioning, will it become a Cat 5 again? Well, it's reiterating from hours ago, 2 or 3 hours ago at least, that it is a possibility. It's not out of the question, especially when it gets back out over the Atlantic after making its second landfall in Cuba. Certainly all still in the balance and still in the game, but the Cat 5 for them again is running out. But the quicker that runs out, the better, because that gives obviously people a better chance of withstanding Matthew's punishment. Not saying Cat 4 is strong, and Cat 4 is very, very strong and very dangerous as well. And any form of hurricane is dangerous, let alone even if it's not a hurricane, it's a tropical storm that's dangerous. We found that out with Tropical Storm Ronu in the North Indian that killed 200 plus people. But it's going to be, once Matthew gets over the Bahamas and gets out after Cuba, it's going to be worse from there to try and even forecast him, because he's got more ocean to go for. So he's going to be a lot worse.
Gotta say, seeing new model runs that's come out on the storm. Let me show this to the stream. I don't know if you're watching the stream as well, Craig. And you'll see the latest model runs. It's getting, according by the models, less certain beyond 3 days. Can you see this?
Oh, Lordy Lou.
There's lines everywhere, and they're really losing the plot, the models, beyond 3 days. And, you know, they are, one of them at least, the nav gem, that's one of the big 6. Is that the nav gem? Hold on. Just gotta make sure, because there's 2 that look the same. I believe it is, but I can't figure out what the other one. What is that one? The one further east. I think that is the nav gem. You know, predicting it to be further south, not far from the Miami area. Then you've got the GFDL, which is not too far further north. That must be near West Palm Beach. And then you've got the UK Met model, which is way up north towards Melbourne. And then you've got the BAM series of models, well, the BAMS, which is near the GFDL one. And then the others that stay out to sea, and all the other models keeping it out offshore, but affecting the peninsula. Apart from the easternmost models, which are taking it. One thing is pretty much guaranteed now. All of the Bahamas, north to south, going to get tropical storm conditions or worse. Hurricane conditions for many. Major hurricane conditions for some. And
mainly for the ones that are going to get hurricane conditions, let alone tropical storm conditions, the Bahamas and let alone Cuba, they are going to get. They're going to literally get an absolute whack, and it's going to be it's going to be very, very painful as well. Matthew is not going to be like them. Yeah, let's put it this way. Because if he's not going to show any light or mercy towards Haiti, he ain't going to show any light or mercy towards Cuba, let alone the Bahamas. Or if his next landfall could be after he's left the Bahamas.
There's the latest full view of the water vapor imagery. Pretty colours. And that's the latest. Matthew,
and it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Matthew, the huge blob over Haiti, receiving its worst landfall, its strongest landfall since the 60s.
I mean, I'll give Haiti this. They did very, very well to avoid such a catastrophe. Well, if you want to call it catastrophe. Such a strong hurricane as Matthew for such a long time. And they've done quite a good job of it. Well,
yeah.
I think a lot of people would actually agree with me on that one, especially with the cyclones like Winston, Fantala, and then the super typhoons Napartak, Mariansi, and Chaba. Then you're looking at Matthew, which creates yet more history for the Atlantic seasons. Like, that's not had enough. With the forming the earliest hurricane since what year? 1950. This is on about
storm.
The earliest forming hurricane in Atlantic since 1950.
54, Alice.
since 1950, since 54. And then you get the strongest hurricane in the Caribbean since, well, if you want to count it as Cat 4, since Paloma. And then if you want to count it as Cat 5, you want to say Felix. Since then, obviously Felix, I think, may have been stronger. I'm not too sure. But looking at it, it's astonishing how much history that Matthew wrote just as becoming the quote unquote Cat 5 peak, or what might be peak, because he could still peak at a Cat 5 again. Not saying he will. Just to reiterate, I'll put that in big bold caps and letters saying I'm not saying he will, but he could, which is I'd say about 10%, 5 or 10% chance of that happening, meaning very, very low. Which we all hope it doesn't happen again. And him becoming a Cat 5 first time round was traumatizing enough. In more ways than one. Because people were getting affected by it.
And check out that area of interest down near, that area of interest that's been tagged, still gradually moving, and some moisture being felt, maybe some rainfall for Trinidad and Tobago right now. I don't know what the status of those Caribbean islands are, whether they need rain or could do without. If anyone knows...
after Matthew, they could do without.
Yeah, those eastern islands, though, maybe not much. I don't know.
Oh, not much, no. Not much. Definitely not much. Just gonna have a look at this see how many. I know as far as the latest came out with the death tolls. Yes, death tolls are already coming out. Some of them are from, I don't know where these ones have come from, but there's already been apparently 2 deaths in Haiti, and I know that number is going to climb. I'm not sure whether the 4 total deaths in Matthew have been related to that. Apparently, two young kids have been killed during Matthew. Sad to hear that they didn't make it.
Yeah, there were 4 reported in the Dominican Republic, weren't there?
Yeah, there were supposedly 4. Supposedly, anyway.
And there was 1 in St. Lucia.
Yeah, which was a horrible way.
And there might have been 1 other that I can't remember.
Yeah, the one in... Then there was 1 in Colombia.
Was there?
Yeah, there was a 16-year-old boy that got swept away in a river.
Okay. So that would make 8.
And the two. I think the 2 kids were reportedly killed whilst watching waves.
Oh.
That's not good in storm tracker views, because you would expect them to, take precautions, take cover, get reparations done. But it shows you that some people have underestimated the power of Matthew.
Some people might be blissfully unaware of Matthew.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not saying that they should have been made aware, and it's not their fault they didn't know. I'm not saying it's perfectly okay, but it's not their fault. It's not their fault they didn't know. Not saying it is.
That eye is there, though. Have you seen the latest radar at all? I haven't.
Yes, the latest radar really, really has improved, and I mean drastically has improved.
And it looked good before.
The eye wall looks... I'm maybe trying not to jump to conclusion that it might miss Cuba. It might.
Yeah, there is that possibility. It is a slight eastward element there, an eastward component, maybe. Very slight.
But that might not save Cuba from a landfall.
No, not at all. Well, don't know about that, but serious conditions, certainly.
Oh, yeah.
And we just wait for every new image, and the latest satellite image is actually showing something interesting. The eyes come out even more, and you see it quite clearly on the satellite imagery. The eyes continuing to begin to appear.
Clear. And the cloud tops are really, really starting to cool. I mean, if that's not enough to alarm you, then yeah. And I'm starting to see good convection starting to wrap. Then this eye could really, really become well defined, as I said. If it misses Cuba, it could really become well defined. And you just, yes, we hope it doesn't make landfall, but the eye was certainly a place not to be caught in, especially during a hurricane, and especially a hurricane at this intensity. It'd be unearthly if it was a Cat 5 at this point. It'd be unearthly and unimaginable if it was, but thank God it isn't. But as we know, this could have been a heck of a lot worse. I'd probably have a few people, not everybody, but a few people agreeing on probably in that statement, saying that it could have been a lot worse, but thankfully it isn't. But 145 miles per hour is still catastrophic. It's especially for an island such as Haiti itself, still recovering from an earthquake that occurred 6 years ago. But then again, you got to look that their infrastructure was never strong enough to withstand such an earthquake and that power, especially magnitude 7.
Oh, yeah.
You've got your house has got no chance, and also
The Black Phantom says, "What's the current pressure in Matthew? Latest was 949."
And still is. I'm just going to go into recon right now on tropical tidbits.
Yeah, are there any in there right now?
I hate to tell you this, but there's only a drop zone, and that's not in the storm. The recon, low-level recon, was there, but now it's finished. Heading home.
I see.
The lowest pressure they found was 949. In fact, before landfall it was 944. And they did find 951, 2 sectors, obviously in the eye. And now they found 949. So, but now the plane is on its way home. So there's no aircraft reconnaissance inside of Matthew. So that's a great big fat load of good. Not. But then again, they do have to go home because, as far as I understand, they've been in there since what? Oh,
they're putting their hours in.
9 o'clock this morning, or since 9 o'clock UK time this morning. But they've been in there for a good what? Oh, how many hours?
Nearly 12.
Out there, in 12 hours inside of a Cat 4 hurricane. Ooh, that's well from what I seen anyway. I mean, I'm not too sure myself. I mean, I've seen them leave. I think it was Puerto Rico where they took off from. I'm just gonna just check that real quick and see where they took off from. Quick path. Yeah, they did take off from Puerto Rico, and they've been in there since 9. When I saw the time, they took off at 9 o'clock this morning, if not a 9:15.
Now joining us is Adam in the Cayman Islands.
Hello, hi.
Well, Hurricane Matthew.
Yes, Matthew. Matthew is something else indeed.
He's certainly not your typical Atlantic.
Something we have not seen in a long, long time.
Yeah, he's certainly not your typical Atlantic.
Would you suggest that it has strengthened since the Haiti landfall?
Wouldn't surprise me. The shape of the landmass of Cuba and Haiti can provide some form of extra spin. It's a little bit like how you would have in the Bay of Campeche with the spin ball effect, as well as off of the Florida Panhandle. Similar kind of small scale kind of effect could ensue in that area. It wouldn't surprise me. Well, looking on satellite, I would say ooh, might even get the chance to miss hitting Cuba. And if that is the case, that's good news for the storm because that means that the storm will have less land interaction.
Oops, struggling with signal over there.
I
I think we've got you
Minutes,
back.
Gus.
Apologies for that.
Yeah, just repeat what you said there. The signal was fading out.
Yeah, just give me 2 seconds. The signal's kind of a little bit off at the moment.
I mean, looking at Matthew's current information, that his gusts are stretching well into 150 knot winds, which is 175 miles per hour. So you can already imagine what sort of a battering and hammering Haiti has already taken. I mean, 145 miles per hour sustained and gusting 175, and that's a nightmare. That's just a nightmare right there.
But you do have to realize is that area of Haiti, the little piece that sticks out like a sore thumb, is not really so populated. I mean, the highest populated area anywhere near there is Port-au-Prince, which is the capital, and that's all the way in the very base side of that little twig that sticks out of Haiti. So it's luckily the heaviest being near the core of the system. It's not as bad as originally thought. But either way, nevertheless, system is doing quite well indeed, despite whatever land interactions that it may be doing. And it definitely looks like it will be a concern for not only the Bahamas, but I'm especially worried for Florida. And I will get right back to you in a minute, telling you why I think Florida is going to have a big issue with this system. Just, I'll be back in like 2 seconds. So.
Okay, we'll count to 2 slowly.
Okay, 2 minutes then. Very slowly.
Yeah. Well, in that time, we may as well reiterate what warnings are in effect. We sort of do this every half hour, so let's read them out again. Unless you want to do it, Craig.
I've got the warnings up. Hurricane warnings remain in effect for the whole of Haiti. No real surprise. Southern border of Dominican Republic has a tropical storm warning. That should be lifted at some point. The northern border of Dominican Republic and Haiti has a tropical storm watch. Eastern Cuba, up to central Cuba, has a hurricane warning. That's going to remain in effect for some time until the threat of Matthew passes, and central Cuba has a hurricane watch. The islands of the Bahamas, a good majority of them, near enough all of them, have a hurricane warning, apart from only one which has a tropical storm warning. In Florida, there is tropical storm watches, and there is a hurricane watch up the east coast. Tropical storm watches for the Florida Keys area. Mainly, this is basically because mainly that Matthew's supposed to make a very close approach as a major hurricane at the point, and it's certainly showing some concerns, especially if they're throwing something as that's it, Florida. And that, yes, they've had a couple of storms this year. They had somewhat tropical storm Colin, and then they had Hurricane Hermine, which was 80 miles an hour. But now they could end up getting Matthew, and not ruling out a potential Floridian landfall. I mean, it's possible. And not saying that it's not to be ruled out. I mean, this is still very much early in the forecasting game. Well, forecasting guess, should I say? That this is far too soon to tell whether it will make landfall. It might not, might do, but we really are going to have to find out. We really are going to have to find out here.
Let's see if there's any news. The ATCF doesn't have any change for the storm, so clearly there'll be no change there.
Java does have a big change. It's went from
much weaker.
125. Yeah, it went from 125 miles an hour right down to 100. I'm surprised it's even still 100.
Yeah.
Microwave imagery, it's looking horrible. And apparently ATCF is now tagged 90 and invest in the North Indian.
Oh, really?
Apparently. It says in IO 96 2016, obviously. I'd like to hope so. And it's in the invest no data available as of yet. So I'll try and get that up as well. That sort of info as soon as there is a satellite image of that invest at the minute. And also there's the two invests. There is 94C, which going by IR is developed in LLCC. I think that's gone extratropical now. Certainly looking extratropical.
Which one?
And then there's 99.
Which one?
94C.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, it has developed a LLCC, but it's certainly looking extratropical. It's not looking anything about tropical about it. And also in the Western Pacific, there is 99W, which looks to be getting tremendously sheared by the outflow of Chaba, stretching to the south. So 99W may hit the Philippines or may hit Taiwan, but it's closer to the Philippines, which is Luzon. In terms of Philippine landfall, it will be Luzon that could get it, so it'll be a very heavy rain event. I don't suspect this storm will form, becoming a depression. I don't expect that to happen, depending on conditions. Microwave imagery depicts it being in position of a moisture, or having it in a squall line formation on microwave, depicting it's very, very disorganized. There is no center with it, so it's if there was one, it's to be very, very elongated. It's very badly disorganized, so this thing ain't really gonna have enough time to organize itself before it's a pending landfall on the Philippines. But that's not our main concern at this precise moment in time. But that's just what's active around the world at the minute in terms of invests. And there's only three active name active storms, and Ram has now gotten rid of Matthew. Don't worry, it hasn't dissipated. We wish. Everyone wishes it was gone because it's been a pain in the backside. The only two other named storm apart from Chaba is Nicole, which in my mind and everybody else's mind is just a great big ball of cloud. And it's expected to go down to the pub. I have no idea which Atlantic pub it's to go to.
Oh dear.
And get absolutely hammered, according to the NHC's forecast. I've never seen a storm like it. I have never seen a storm to be that undecided which way it's going. Oh wait, Matthew. Damn it. Looking at radar yet again. The eye wall is really, really beginning to improve.
Could you show us?
And it looks to be that it could miss here. It could miss Cuba, but then again, you're going to be getting it possibly be getting the eye wall.
Could you show us?
Which is certain. I will show you if that is requested. I will.
Definitely.
Sharing said screens. The screen share will now take 500 years.
Oh, we've got it.
Oh no, that was a quick 500 years. But here you can currently see the slight more eastward trend.
That's interesting.
In Matthew, you can see how the eye's sort of trying to pull away from Cuba, but it could, be one of its little antics that goes one way and then quickly switches back and hits it, or hits Cuba. I'm certainly not ruling out another change in direction, but certainly looking like a more eastward trend at this precise moment in time. You can see how strong the rain bands are around the eye wall. South to eastern part of the eye wall, you see it's really starting to improve. It's looking a lot better than it was. Eyes contracted, so it's showing signs of some sort of intensification there. Anyway, then some thunderstorm activity already is, spawning again. So that's another sign that it's got a good good strengthening to it. So it did look a bit annular this morning. I don't know whether anyone else would agree with that. It did look a little bit annular in terms of spiral bandness. An awkward silence fills the room.
No, I was just looking at comments.
I don't know whether.
Steven
Well,
says,
just to reiterate, I don't know whether anyone would agree.
How is Matthew shaping up in lasting strength compared to the other big storms mentioned yesterday? Well, it's now lasted nearly 5 days as Category 4 intensity or higher. If the next advisory still has it as a Category 4, I don't see why not. Which is the longest amount of time since Hurricane Ivan.
Lovely.
And the third longest time to sustain Category 4 of the 21st century.
That's Adam's favourite storm.
I've not looked at the 20th century or beyond, but I doubt there's many others. Probably in the top 10.
And there's Adam's favourite storm that's just been mentioned.
I don't know. Maybe it's in the top 10. I don't know.
Good old Ivan.
But can you think of many other storms that have lasted 5 full days without dropping below Category 4 intensity?
I mean,
not really.
If there was ever to be a hurricane or any form of tropical cyclone that you could probably describe to fight, this probably takes the biscuit. Literally, there's no biscuit available, guys. There's no cookies.
Well, as I've mentioned at the start of the season, when I was talking about the season's forecast and so on, I did mention that we will see a Cat 5 this season, and what do you know? Matthew is the one that does so. And I did also mention, could be looking at a few, maybe 1 or 2 hurricanes that do end up being lasting long within the major category. And, Matthew is that poster child for that, I guess.
And that's the sound of, someone joining the call, and I think that's Grandpa David.
That is me over here on the east coast of Australia. Good to be here, but unfortunately only for about 25 minutes. And listen, Ross, we focus on Matthew and how the threat continues. I see there's a new invest area in the Arabian Sea.
Oh, that's where it is it?
And also soon to be in Invest Area 99L, another Caribbean system to take place. Currently, the system is southeast of Barbados. Could we see another Matthew out of this? Could we see an Earl out of this? Well, too early to say for sure. But based on how things are going, this one will likely go further west than Matthew.
I'm just going to leave the desk for a moment. If you guys want to keep talking, that's fine.
Okay.
All right. Cool. So there's that, and it's because of Matthew that I think that this thing will be pushing further west, because not only with Matthew and newly upgraded Tropical Storm Nicole. Both of those systems will be moving up towards the north and west, and the high-pressure system underneath that will be building underneath that, and it will allow the other system, the Caribbean system, to move further west into the Caribbean. Anyway, at this present time, the National Hurricane Center is giving a 10 to 20% chance of the system developing, and obviously this thing goes up in organization and intensity some more. Obviously, National Hurricane Center will bump up those percentages a lot more. So we'll have to wait and see. And another thing that was discussed by me as well, in terms of the season's activity and so on, I did say that, if with the fact that you have 2 peaks in the Atlantic hurricane season, a peak in September and a peak in October, and because we didn't really see much of a September peak, I think we're going to be seeing a much stronger, much higher active October peak. And I think that's what we're starting to get into now.
Oh, yeah. Just looking at the shear, no wonder Nicole getting the shear is increasing. by at least 5 to 10 knots. It's in the 5-knot ridge. It's increasing. Matthew's got a 10 to 5 knot decreasing shear pocket, so he's creating that. He's pushing it upwards. And also where the disturbance is, it's near enough in the same conditions as Matthew. It's in decreasing 5 to 10 knot decreasing, and also compressing a high shear pocket as well, which is being pushed as well by Matthew. So this storm could easily start causing this area of high shear to start decreasing quite a substantial bit. So this could easily open the door for this one to get into the Caribbean and start developing. How quick, I have no idea. Potentially could be quick, might not be.
Well, the way how things look, and I was a little bit impressed to see how Matthew did not pretty much have any very little effects on terms of the ocean heat content and the sea surface temperatures, which was surprising because we do know that powerful storms, even Cat 2 or higher, they tend to cause upwelling in the waters, tend to cool things down. And I looked at the charts just not too long ago, and I was pretty shocked to see that barely anything has changed. As a matter of fact, over the northwest Caribbean from west of Jamaica, going westwards, has actually increased, which is a little bit worrisome, because if this thing does what it seems that it would do, which is move further west than Matthew, you'll be tapping into that, and we could end up seeing potentially, I'm not saying that this will happen or this is the forecast, but I'm saying based on what's out there, this thing could potentially end up throwing another Cat 5 into the Caribbean. And mind you, the last time we ended up having 2 Cat 5s in the Caribbean was actually the last time we had a Cat 5 back in 2007, where we had Hurricane Dean and Hurricane Felix moving through the Caribbean as Cat 5s. And it's just interestingly enough that that was the last time we had a Cat 5. Now we're having another Cat 5, and we could potentially see another Cat 5 in the Caribbean.
Potentially, yeah. And that's something that's rather alarming. And
Yeah.
potentially 2, maybe coming Cat 5s. And this one, if conditions play out, does have a very, very good chance of becoming a Cat 5. Not like the Caribbean doesn't want to have another one, because Matthew was enough.
Yeah, and also to also look at this as well, the way how the steering setup is for the system, it isn't for the nuke system, it isn't as complex as for say Matthew's steering flow was as complex, because the way how the setup with Matthew is, and the high pressure building underneath that storm, and the other the weakness within the high is much further to the west. Likely, quite very much likely, this thing could potentially have more of an impact over the Greater Antilles, not so much the Southeast Caribbean and Haiti and bits of Jamaica and parts of Cuba, but it could potentially be more of the Windward Islands, Jamaica, Honduras, the Cayman Islands, Cuba, Yucatan, and then of course here comes the Gulf of Mexico, and this system could potentially be a bigger threat to the Gulf of Mexico states. But either way, it's still way far out to know the exact things that this system could do. And the main threat, as it stands, will be Matthew for the time being. I'd say at least until maybe this weekend or so. Either way, going into the later part of this weekend into weekend, the new system will be heading into Barbados and the Windward Islands, and those people need to keep a close eye on that. You guys had a very, very nice little taste test, or a little example for you guys with Matthew, and with this next system. I'm sure that any wrongdoings, any sort of stuff like that occurred during Matthew will not be repeated again with this next system. So it'll be one to watch. For sure.
Now we're joined by Max, who's near Tampa, Florida. Hello. Okay, maybe not.
Hello?
Oh, he's there. Max, have you been monitoring the storm?
Yeah, I have. Are you live right now?
Yes, everyone can hear you. The whole world. And we've got feedback there as well.
Even echoey Nathan.
Oh no,
And me.
2 days.
I don't know what's going on over there.
Good enough. God knows.
You've
Two
got a
me's.
double
Just the
me.
other double.
Yeah. Double everyone. I think, okay, it's fixed. Well,
wow.
that was Max, and if he is able to talk to us at some point, maybe he will give us his insight about what's going on near Tampa. In the meantime, I'm not sure what you've been discussing, but no news here.
As of yet.
Could we call this Force 13 Live Inception with the echoing?
Not anymore, it's gone.
Yes, not anymore. Interestingly enough. Also, Nathan, I do have to mention to you that little thing that we were discussing about earlier about where the advisories and stuff were being issued from, rather the NHC.
Much earlier, yes.
Yeah, that seems to be the case happening for the tropical weather outlook now.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
How curious.
Curious indeed.
Adam, for our viewers, perhaps you might like to let them know what other activity you have within the Force 13. And second question, before I depart, what's going on with the atmospheric conditions when it comes to Matthew?
All right. Well, for other activities that I'm involved with Force 13, obviously I am the owner and manager, part manager of the Caribbean Weather Desk, also with David, who is the main manager of the Caribbean Weather Desk. And obviously me being the host, obviously due to my location here in Grand Cayman, which is in the Caribbean for you guys who do not know. Kind of hard to see people not knowing that, but yes, and do that as well as a few other shows, do the Defense Hour as well as the Aviation Show with my mate, my cousin, Christopher Lee Smith. Obviously, he'll be doing some more of those shows later on.
Yeah, I'm back.
Yep. And so that's the other stuff that I do on the Force 13. So that's other stuff that we'll be needing to look out for. And the next thing we'll need to talk about. Yeah, the echo.
The echo in the background, Max. You must have a speaker too close to your microphone or something.
And the other thing you were asking, David, the atmospherics. Well, the Kelvin wave is still moving over the area, so obviously it's still affecting the system. There is not much in terms of wind shear for the system. There's a little bit on the northern edges and the western edges, but not too much of a big deal to worry about the system. For now, dry air, there's a little bit, but there's not enough to really impact the system too harshly or to prevent any development or whatever the system will do. So for atmospherics for Matthew, not a problem. The atmospherics for the other systems, however, well, in particularly for Nicole, isn't too crash hot. Shear is affecting the system, and shear will continue to affect the system and also increase some. So we do expect Nicole not to really intensify too much. There's still a chance it could intensify a little bit, but not expecting any too drastic intensification from that system. Eventually, the system will die down to a depression and eventually a remnant low, eventually dissipating. And in terms of the Caribbean system actually, should I say, next Caribbean system, the system southeast of Barbados, is currently in lower wind shear and don't really see much wind shear to impact the system or anything else to really impact the system per se. Especially with Matthew moving out, the outflow wouldn't be too much of an issue, nor would Nicole, since Nicole is definitely farther out than Matthew. So for this system, this I'd say is the next big system that the Caribbean will have to watch out for. Obviously, not good news for Haiti and Jamaica, as after this system moves out, they'll be trying to recover from the damages that have occurred there, and they got to look out for another system coming up right behind there. So, I'd say for you guys in those areas there, keep an eye out for both systems, and for southeastern Caribbean, you guys, your focus should be 100% turned to the southeast Caribbean for the next system, and for the Western Caribbean, you should look out for maybe some outer bands from Matthew, but that's pretty much it for you guys. Your guys' focus should also start to change towards the Southeast Caribbean and what that system will do. And obviously, you guys in the Bahamas, you know that the warnings have been issued for you guys. You guys should be rushing your preparations immediately. You guys in Turks and Caicos should have rushed it to completion and be safe in your shelters, in your residence, wherever you're staying, and stay indoors and don't go outside. And obviously for you guys along the east coast of the United States, especially for Florida, I think you guys should prep yourselves. I do worry that I do think it's quite possible that Matthew may make a landfall on eastern Florida, which is definitely worrying. Because you know how Florida got lucky, Eastern Florida got lucky with Hermine, may not get lucky this time with Matthew. Then, of course, I expect even worse conditions for the East Coast, worse than what they had with Hermine. So it's definitely going to be a big problem for the East Coast of the United States.
South Carolina, I believe, are planning to evacuate 1 million people from the coast, according to their governor.
Well, I would not be surprised. I mean, even though that Hermine didn't do too great of damages, this thing's gonna make Hermine looks like child's play.
And something that Strat sent to me, the U.S. Governor Rick Scott even urged coastal residents to prepare for the possibility of a direct hit and keep 3 days worth of food, water, and medicine. That's right, Max, your governor. The Red Cross put out a call for volunteers in South Carolina as well. The White House said relief supplies were being moved to emergency staging areas in the southeast. So a lot of planning going on right now. But as I've constantly been saying throughout these hours, it's the time to think about the preparations that you're making and whether you've got everything, what you need, and whether you've got your evacuation planned, but not actually to take the action just yet. If you're evacuating and whatnot. It's not the day to be boarding up windows and doors just yet, maybe tomorrow.
And Nathan, Noah, the Atlantic Oceanographic and
Oceanic.
Meteorology Laboratory, they just put out a posting, although this is on news, hurricane watches from Deerfield Beach to Valencia, and further flights by the hurricane hunters Adam into Matthew in the coming hours.
Sorry, I had to step out for a moment.
Hurricane watches are
Yes,
indeed in
sir.
effect, yes.
Well, here it is, Matthew. So far the worst threat for the Atlantic since 2005. I mean, sorry, 2007.
Really?
Is well, yeah. I mean, this is the strongest system. This is the longest living Cat 4 system, at least that we're aware of at the moment.
Ike
And
was in a similar position though, going a different direction.
yes, that is very true. That was 2008. However, the only difference is that the amount of energy that Matthew has compared to Ike is different. The amount of energy that Matthew is producing is a lot more than what
Alright.
Ike's produced.
We'll be back
And
shortly
also-
at the top of the next hour. I'll let you talk a little more after that, Adam, if I may. We'll be back
Sure.
soon with more on Hurricane Matthew. Stay tuned.